And it's Gordo here from Gordo's Games, and we are back for some more content. Now, it's been a while since we put anything up on YouTube, and I want to apologise for that. It's not that we forgot about it completely. We're just going through a bit of a phase of struggling to find things that are worth putting out in regards to the content we did previously. Now, we've not completely left Digimon. We do still hold locals over on our Discord, so you can jump in those. They are going to be every fortnight on a Monday at 7:30 GMT time. So feel free to hop in there. The link to Discord will be down in the description below. But we obviously are all venturing into other things as well. There are, the big changes like Lorcana came to the mix. One Piece is taking like a front run in for most of what Bandai wants to do. So realistically, at the moment we're in a very, very longish set for Digimon, and I haven't found the reason to just cycle out deck profile after deck profile, which is basically the same thing. It's not that I haven't got anything for the game anymore. I enjoy playing the game still, and I do still play it. We will be streaming tonight, as when recording this, which is the Monday. This most likely won't be out by then, but the next Monday, who knows. But today we're doing something different here, because I have started moving into another game that I'm playing alongside Digimon, just to kind of buffer out the slower parts. It is Magic the Gathering, specifically Commander. I'm not playing Modern or Standard. I play an Arena sometimes, so you maybe catch that on the stream sometimes as well. Otherwise it is Commander, and I do stream that content from time to time. So if you do play Commander, you do want to get involved, by means hop in the Discord, and you'll see people pinging up for games as and when they can. I'm just slinging spells on the spell tables. But I'm going to do a deck profile today, and this is going to be my first one through for it. And I'm not going to say I'm a professional. I'm not going to say I know every single card in this game, because I don't. I'm a relatively new player. I joined when Lord of the Rings dropped. I was going to do a Lord of the Rings deck as my first one, but this one for me has been one of my favourite decks, and has done well since I played it. And it is Blanka, Ferocious Fiend. Ferocious Fiend? Ferocious Friend. The profile isn't going to be done like this. I'm not going to do it through cards itself. I will do it through different layout, because I don't think me cycling through that many cards is going to be very efficient. So it would be appreciated if you do like the content to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, so you know when you see this content, and then we know when it goes live for you. But comments are going to be a big help here, not just for the algorithms and that, but just generally for my own feedback, so you can help me improve how I do these profiles going forward. Because I'm going to start doing them, because I do feel like there's a lot of creativity in Commander as to how you can build your decks, and that's something that I have been enjoying quite a bit, and I'd like to share it all with you. So enough of my rambling, let's get into the profile. Now that we've got our character selected, let's look at our commander to start with. So we are running Blanka, the Ferocious Friend. It has haste. It has 2 effects to it, which is one is rolling an attack. Blanka, Ferocious Friend, has trample as long as you've cast 3 or more spells this turn. So we do have ways to give Blanka trample, which allows us to push through the command damage, which is going to be the main aim of this game. You are only winning through commander damage. Electric Thunder. Whenever Blanka becomes the target of a spell, he gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn, and deals 2 damage to each opponent. So you won't be ramping Blanka through the effects of instants or sorceries, but we are doing that mainly through enchantments. We are playing into a Voltron style deck, whereas instead of artifacts we're going to go enchantments. Blanka is highly targetable. Most people don't like to let him stick to the board or let him even come out, so expect to be paying a lot for him throughout the course of the game, unless you have some responses to stop it from being countered, for instance. But you are going to be running some ramp in the package, and also the main piece, which is Voltron. So let's get into the core of it. So initially we're going to start with the ramp. So we run Bird of Paradise, Bergenin, and Dryad of Illusion Grove. We run Elvish Mystic, Exploration, and Llanowar Elves. Migration Path, Sanctum Weaver, and Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. We run Sol Ring, Tent with Discovery, and 3 visits. Last but not least, Traverse the Outlands and Arcane Signet. That rounds out our ramp, and we run 14 pieces of ramp overall on the deck. So we run things varying from Selvala to be able to tap and then gain mana based on the highest power creature we control, which is what we're going to ramp Blanka with, to give us more targets and more chances to get a big amount of mana for those big turns. 3 visits migration path. We're just going to be looking to try and source as much kind of resource as possible as early on. So you want that to ramp really early on into the game, and then we can start tuning into actually using our enchantments and using a lot more things in one turn, because you want to go very big in one turn, push out, make yourself a threat, because you are going to do this just by Blanka being on the field. Traverse the Outlands is probably my favourite ramp in the deck, just purely based on if I have managed to ramp him before using it, I can then search for, like, say 10 to 12 basic lands, depending on how it went. So he's one of my key pieces for it. And I do run basic lands in here, and I will just cover this off briefly. These lands I won't say are the most optimal, they are based on the lands you have available. These are just the ones I have at the time. So I'm just going to cover off the lands now, just so you're aware of what I put in here so far. So we do have Balin's Tomb with Cinderglade and Command Tower. There is Contested Cliffs, Evolving Wilds, and Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. We have Fertile Thicket, 11 Forest, and 7 Mountains. Island Forest, Keswick Wolfrun, and Myriad Landscape. Path of Ancestry, Reliquary Tower, and Sheltered Thicket. Stomping Ground, Term of Expanse, and Witch's Clinic. These are just a few of the lands that I've opted for in the deck. Like I said, there's a far more basics than most people would prefer to run. You'd mostly run things like sack lands and jewel lands. All the variations of different lands that probably cost a little bit more money than I put into it at the point, as I'm relatively new. We do run things like Keswick Wolfrun, Witch's Clinic, and Contested Cliffs, because they do target Blanka and do give us effects. Like Witch's Clinic, for instance, will give us lifelink, and if we can target, it means we can try and sustain a lot of a life back. With Keswick Wolfrun, we go ahead and target the creature against X and O and gains trample at the end of the turn. And then Contested Cliffs is for 1 green, 1 red, target beast creature you control fights target creature your opponent controls. This allows us to get a bit of board control just through the purpose of a land. And just to cover off the last few creatures in the decks, we have our Gythrian Enchantress, Corsweb Crucifix, and Destiny Spinner. Edelin Blossoms, Kendis Elderclaw Familiar, and Cetacean Champion. And finally, Timeless Witness, Veteran Enchantress, I always say it wrong, Xenagos, God of Revels. That does round up our creatures there, so we are running, all in total, we're running, I think it's 13 creatures in total. The list for the deck will be down in the description below. Going off some of those creatures there, we do run things that allow us to draw more things by playing enchantments down. So such things are Gythrian Enchantress. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you draw a card. Same for Cetacean Champion. If you play count on a Cetacean Champion and draw a card whenever a enchantment enters the battlefield. So this allows the ramp Cetacean Champion, give us draw power, and let us keep cycling through the deck for more pieces. To go along with that, I believe Destiny Spinner, get the name right, does stop any creature or enchantment spells you can't be countered, basically. So everything we are playing into the deck is revolving around enchantments, and hence the selection of creatures we've gone for. They're not really there for aggressive win cons. We do have Xenagos in here as well, which is also a good thing alongside Blanka, just to make it that big burly stack and just kind of go for it. But the other creatures, moving into the last parts of this deck then, is just going to be the overall enchantment, instant and sorcerers that we've chosen to go with. Just going into a few of them to start with. So first we have a Void Fate, Pyroblast, and Red Elemental Blast. These are our counter spells. There aren't many in the colours that we're running, so I do often include these just to have some form of answers to the blue players at the table mainly, but just avoid Fate for more targeted focus as well. And then we have Chandra's Ignition and Vandal Blast. These are effectively board wipes. Vandal Blast is for artifacts, and Chandra's Ignition just for generally the board state and also player damage as well. Personally, one of my favourite board clears. Into the next instant source, we run Berserk, Crown of Flames, and Heroic Intervention. Psychotic Fury, Ranger's Guile, and Snakeskin Veil. Tamio Safekeeping, Temel Battle Rage, and Unleash Fury. Vines of Vastwood, Jessica's Will, and Nissa's Renewal. And with all these instants and sorceries, they are playing into the similar kind of concept as what enchants will do. So some of the instants will look to target Blanka and offer protection that we need, whereas we don't have the counter spell to stop what's going on. So things like Heroic Intervention, just a blanket
protection for the board state, so permanents you control gain hexproof and destructible. Things like Psychotic Fury are going to be to help us just cycle extra cards, but also give us pressure on the board because we'll get double strike, and you'll go up to, if you just use that one spell, it'll become a 7/7 with double strike basically. Ranger's Guile, target creature control gets hexproof until the end of the turn, and various things that play into the same characteristics. Let's move into the bread and butter of the deck, the main piece, the enchantments. So we have Alpha Authority, Ancestral Mask, and Bare Umbra. Canopy Cover, Cinder Vines, and Crown of Flames. Defense of the Heart, Enchantress Presence, and Gitu Fibria. Keen Sense, Nature's Will, and Rancor. Rhythm of the Wild, Season of Growth, and Sixth Sense. Snake Umbra, Spider Umbra, and Sylvan Library. Underworld Breach, Wild Defiance, and Bow of Nile. And with all these enchantments, we are looking just to buff up that Blanka, get him as big a body as you possibly can, and look to swing out with commander damage as much as you possibly can. You will be inherently doing damage simply by the amount of times you ramp, because when you target Blanka, he will do 2 damage to everybody. So you will be whittling their life down as you go along anyway, along with anything else they may have been doing in the meantime. You will have enchantments where I facilitate things like destroying artifacts or enchantments with things like Cinder Vines. But there are a few key ones that are key to your strategy. So we're going to go into the combo side of things, and then last thoughts on the deck. So moving into a combo piece now. So our first one is going to be through burn damage, and how we're going to achieve this is by 2 main cards, a little bit of other kind of setup, but there's very minimal to do. So realistically, we want to be at a point where we have a little bit of buff on Blanka, just to kind of give us some breathing space, because we're always going to technically net that a little bit more to keep us going in this. One of the main cards to begin with is Keen Sense. So you enchant creature, it costs 1. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. And the reason this is important is because of the card that goes with it, which is Chain of Plasma. So Chain of Plasma deals 3 damage to a target creature or player. Then that player or that creature's controller may discard a card from his or her hand. If the player does, he or she may copy this spell and may choose a new target for the copy. So what we're looking to do here is, because Keen Sense, we're going to look to deal 2 damage to the board. Then we'll draw a card. Obviously Chain of Plasma, we can then discard a card, choose a new target, so we choose Blanka again, and we can keep repeating that cycle. As long as we've had enough kind of cycle on Blanka within that turn, he won't look to die. You're always going to net that little bit above to stay out of that range, and by that point you should have been looking to win the game at this point. I have got to points whereas I've got Blanka to at least be in a 60-60, so even if you do decide to then stop the cycle for it and just take out the last opponent, you can just go ahead and swing. You would have hit the criteria for the trample, so there's going to be little look they can do there to stop you from doing that. Furthermore, with this combo, there is one more thing you can add to it, is if you do want to just get to a certain point and then just send all your damage out there, is you can, if you do have the mana available for it, you can just cast Chandra's Ignition. If you get yourself to the point where you are at 40-40, Chandra Ignition, you will look to clear the board and both of your and all of your opponents out. So there we have it. That is Blanka, Ferocious Friend. Your aim is to go Voltron, lots of enchantments, lots of targeting. If your opponent targets him, that's even better for you because they're doing part of your job for you. And then you're looking to just whittle them down either through damage or just through combat damage. You have the versatility in both. Overall, I think it's a very strong deck. The the commander can be quite targeted because of the fact he's a 5/5 with a haste, and that is a threat in itself. That's just 5 strings of base damage where you'll take somebody out. But if you do decide to check this deck out, please let me know in the comments what your thoughts. Let me know what your overall thoughts to how the profile was. As I said, this is my first one. Maybe a bit mishmash, and I'm going to structure this a little bit more going forward. But I hope you enjoyed the content, and look forward to seeing you in the Discord for games, or just reading your comments back.